Hello everyone, my name is Clay, and welcome to a special edition of Terminally Nerdy's Indie Impressions, where I take a look at independent and non-AAA titles, giving you my quick first impression after at least 2 hours of playtime. Today, thanks to the gift of a key from Gunfire Games and Perfect World, we're going to be looking at Remnant, From the Ashes, which is releasing today when this video goes up on the 20th. Although, technically speaking, you could have purchased it and gotten early access on PS4, Xbox One, or PC, Steam. So Remnant is basically a third-person action Souls-like set in a world that is procedurally generated each time you reset the campaign. Essentially what you're doing here is you're one of the few survivors of some sort of cataclysm where these plant beasts called the Root have invaded the world. And you are trying to get to this lighthouse. And when you crash your ship, after the opening cutscene, you end up in this place called Ward 13, which is kind of like your hub world. And from there, you try to unravel the mystery of what the hell is going on with the Root and how you can get to this lighthouse. Now, this game is a Souls-like. And it is ball-breakingly hard. I am really bad at these sort of games. In fact, in this footage, you're going to see me die at least once, and then I get through that area. Now, I am really bad at this game, like I say. I've played it for about 3.5 hours now, and I've managed to beat the first boss on my second character. Because, you see, everything is procedurally generated. So the way this game works is it's kind of node-based. So you'll always start in Ward 13, and then the very first mission you'll do for your campaign will be going to the Founder's office. From there, you're told to go to the subway system. How you get to the subway system, the paths that you're taking, the layout of those paths, and the layouts of the enemies is entirely randomized. So you'll always go through the same sort of areas, like you'll always kind of go through this like overworld cityscape and then down into a sewer system, but the layout of that cityscape, the layout of that sewer system, and what enemies you face and their spawns is random. And it randomizes upon either your death or use of their version of a fire, which are these waypoint stones. Those will respawn enemies but refill your ammo and health. And the bosses are randomized. So on my first character I made, and I could have just reset the campaign and gone back through everything, because you can always reset your campaign. Your character's progress is saved, but the world state can be reset if you get something you're not good at dealing with. So like for my first character, I managed to get through the first two areas, which is like an overworld to sewer, and I get to the first boss, and his name is Gorefist, and I spent over an hour trying to kill him and simply couldn't. Gorefist is this big hulking dude with a sword. His attack pattern seems pretty simple. He swings the sword, he'll charge you, kind of uppercut you, and does these other swings. He himself isn't a problem. The problem is during his fight he spawns ads constantly, and these ads are these exploding mushrooms, and they leave gas clouds. And whether or not you kill them or they detonate when they get near you, they're gonna leave the gas cloud. It's really, really annoying, because they always seem to spawn behind me, and I'd be trying to watch him, because if he hits me, he nearly one-shots you. That's how strong Gorefist is. So it's like, watch Gorefist, guys behind me. On top of that, every time you start the game from a fresh, like, boot, it seems, your bosses get a random modifier. So my Gorefist had something like, I think it was called Hardy, which seemed to make him tougher, I guess. It was insane. I couldn't beat him after an hour, so I said, you know what, I'm going to try a different character type. Because there are 3 classes, and they just dictate what you start with. You can eventually unlock everything on one character. They really just dictate your starting weapons, your starting gear, and your starting ability, which they call mods in this. I had started with the Ex-Cultist because it had a heal. The heal is trash solo, just telling you right now, because it's an aura and you have to stand in it, and that is not a good thing when you are the only target. But my second character I made was the Scrapper, which is more the melee guy. The weapons I started with were a little better for me. And what was funny on that one is, so I start the world, and I do the overworld, and it's fine. I get to the sewer, and it is a nightmare. The sewer stage for my Scrapper was a literal nightmare, and that's what you're witnessing right now. I'm fighting multiple mini-bosses in different configurations, and every time I died, those mini-bosses changed. Their spawn point stayed the same, but what I was dealing with changed. So if I died and respawned, while I might have fought the sword guy who blocks all your bullets unless he's swinging, once, and I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to get to that spawn, I'm going to spawn that, and you always hear this musical note when you spawn them. But then I might fight the Gatling gun guy, or the guy with the exploding crossbow bolts. You never knew. And that one, though, the first boss I ran into was called Shroud. And I killed him. I managed to kill Shroud. I was really happy. He was way easier than Gorefist. It only took me 2 attempts. The first attempt I died because I couldn't figure out the layout of the room, but Shroud's room is much more open because he's a ranged character. So it's much more open for him to use his abilities on me, and his only abilities, other than the ads, because he fucking spawned ads, but they were the grunt types that you fight very early on that have the 2 sides. While he spawned ads, his really attacks were shoot 2 arrows, and you would hear this noise, and the ground would light up red, and he would start bombing you. And as long as you kept moving, the bombs wouldn't hit you. He was a lot easier. I would just clear out the ads, because they had to get to me, because they're mostly melee, although they could throw their axes, and then I would kill him. And killing a boss gets you materials that you can use to craft new mods, which are the powers. You can slot 2 powers, 1 in each of your guns. You also get, money, iron, materials to upgrade your weapons and stuff. And after I killed him, I went back up, and then I proceeded to go forward to the next area, which was another sewer system, which I promptly died in. So, I really like this game, but it also frustrates me in incredibly large amounts. But that's me. It's not built for a guy like me. This is a game for those of you who like hard-as-nails gameplay, with, randomized progression and never knowing what's around the next corner. Because that is what's going to happen. Now, thankfully, the bosses are static, to an extent. So, like, when I fought Shroud, he had the tag regenerating, which, of course, would mean that his health would increase if I didn't keep hitting him. This is nasty. But he had a different modification than what Gorefist did and played entirely differently, but both of those were first bosses. My buddy, Virus, actually fought Gorefist just like I did. He killed him. So Gorefist is killable with solo, it's just a nightmare. So the game is playable solo. It's also playable in up to 3 people. So you can have 3-person teams. Enemies do scale. Another negative thing that I personally don't like is apparently enemies and bosses scale slightly to your gear, so you can't really out-level them or out-power them. They're always going to be difficult. But the replayability in this game is high. It looks fantastic, by the way. The game's art style is amazing. I love it. It looks and runs fantastic on my machine. I'm playing on, like, medium to high, and it looks gorgeous, and I get 60 FPS constantly, or higher. I have my uncapped FPS. I'm usually running at 90 to 100. I could probably crank up the effects a bit more. I just don't need to. There's also a ton of lore unlockables. Like right in Ward 13, there's a bunch of things, and they're very reedy. They're very well written, but they're very deep and detailed, and you kind of get the idea of what the hell's going on in this world. And I am curious about what goes on further, but I think what I'm going to probably end up doing with this game is I'm pretty much done with it. I'm going to watch Carnage, because he's playing it, and he's better at it than me. So I'm going to go watch his playthrough so I can see what the hell's going on in the game. But I definitely encourage people who like what they're seeing and like this sort of game that's hard as nails, infinitely replayable, infinitely grindy, because apparently you can unlock everything and equip everything. There's, other than the 2 guns and the melee weapon, that's your only limit. So, it's $40, and like I said, it's releasing today when this video goes live, so I would definitely pick it up if you like what you look. I love this game, it is just not for me, and after my 3.5 hours and managing to kill 1 boss, I feel good, and I am good with this game now. So I'm going to be moving on. Now, the special edition videos, that's what the SP means. Those are basically whenever I get a game key before the game releases, I'm going to try to get the video out on release day or within the first week. That way you guys can see it, and that breaks my release schedule of usually every 2 weeks. So that's what the SP means. As always, if you like what I'm doing, feel free to hit that like button. If you don't like what I'm doing, hit the dislike button. Leave me a comment. Have you played Remnant? How do you like it? How far have you gotten? Again, I already know I'm bad, so you don't need to go in the comments and tell me how shitty I am. I already know I'm shitty at this game. If you want to support me on Patreon, get these videos, every one of my other videos and writings early before anybody else sees them, please go to patreon.com/terminallynerdy. $2 a month gets you everything. $5 a month, you get to help me pick what games I'm going to stream. Anything else, twitter.com/terminallynerdy, and of course visit my website, terminallynerdy.com, to see all of these videos, plus all the things that I write. I do full written reviews over there. And thanks for watching, and remember everybody, stay nerdy, and have a great day.